Hello, Saginaw, Michigan. This is Charles. You're watching Black News Tonight. I'm so excited about our second night of our season 2 premiere. We're going to bring the rest of the candidates that agreed to participate. And listen, just like you seen last night, people are passionate about this city.
Yeah,
So
I'm
without
muting
further
them.
ado, for space. Turns majesty above the fruit plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Whoa, America, America, God shed, he shed his grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood. Oh Lord, oh Lord, from sea to shining sea. Well, welcome to Black News Tonight, everyone. We thank you so much for being here. I just want to go ahead and get right into the platforms. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're there's 13 of you watching now, why don't you do me a favor and click that share button and let everyone in the city of Saginaw know where you're watching and that you're watching Black News Tonight. Listen, every one of the 11 candidates running for city council are passionate about this city. And that's why we wanted to give them the opportunity to express their innovations and their platforms and what they see this city going, where they see this city going and the future of this city. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start off with Councilwoman Jamie Forbes's platform and her innovations here.
Hi, I'm Jamie Forbes. I've had the opportunity to represent my neighbors for the past 2 years on Saginaw City Council, and I'm asking for your support on November 3rd. I am not actually from Saginaw. I'm from Reese, which is right outside of Saginaw County. I headed out of town for school at Belmont University and graduated with a Bachelor's of Business Administration degree. I worked on a lot of local candidate campaigns and really fell in love with Saginaw. From there, I moved to the issue side of things, and I was the executive director for the Ezekiel Project, which does values-based community organizing in the city. At that job, we looked through the lens of racial justice at issues of inequity. So things like transportation, education, criminal justice reform, environmental justice. And the discipline of community organizing really changed who I am. And it was a wonderful experience, and it has really impacted everything since then. I am now the Director of External Affairs at STARS, the public transit agency in Saginaw, where I, again, just work on my neighbors having access to opportunities, because that's really a part of my value system. I'm on the advisory board of the Henry Marsh Institute for Public Policy at Saginaw Valley, and I'm also a part of the Great Mural Project. We've installed 3 public murals, and we're working on our 4th here in the next month or so. I really think that all my neighbors should have access to public art, and that's why I'm involved in that. I am also celebrating my level 1 certification at the Michigan Municipal League Elected Officials Academy, and I'll be joining that board this fall. Some of the things I'm interested in working on in the next 4 years on City Council is really following through on some of the things that we've done in the past 2 years. So the marijuana ordinance, the Police Oversight Committee, and the Human Rights Commission, those are things that we've passed, and I'm really interested in following through on those things, making sure that they're really serving the needs of the people. I'm interested in increasing participation in government and developing new leaders. I have really been granted opportunities to grow, and I want to make sure that I'm making space for new folks as well. I want to celebrate and protect diversity in all city programs. We are really special in the diversity within the city of Saginaw, and we need to be proactive about fighting the systemic racism that exists in the systems that we live in. I think that we need to work on creative and equitable land use and affordable housing. I'm on the board of Habitat for Humanity. We need safe water, and we need to promote continued financial stability. So I hope that I'll have your vote on November 3rd.
Wow, thank you so much, Councilwoman Forbes, for expressing your innovations for the city of Saginaw. I did not know, honestly, until I watched that video, that you have done so much already in this city, and we definitely appreciate you for appreciating.
Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Next on the list, man, this young man is on fire for the city of Saginaw as well. His name is George Copeland. He's a member of the NAACP. I have seen this brother, praise the Lord. He is also a member of Faith. So I'm excited to welcome him for the first time to the Black News Tonight platform. Candidate for city council, George Copeland.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. And I want to say, Charles, congratulations on season 2 for you this year. Amazing work. My name is George Copeland. I am a father. I'm a husband. I'm a resident of the city of Saginaw. I'm a taxpayer of the city of Saginaw. And even as I say, I'm a father of someone in the city of Saginaw, I have to use this moment. My son is turning 1 year old. So Gavin loves you. Gavin, dad loves you. But my platform, I've had the privilege of being here in the city. I graduated from Saginaw Valley with a bachelor's in business administration, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in business. But having the opportunity to run for city council, for me, I heard a lot of conversations about the people that were leaving Saginaw. And I realized, and I was a part of, my wife and I, my family, we're part of the reason that we wanted to stay in Saginaw. I've been saying faith forward because I believe in the residents of this city. I have faith in this city. One of the things about Saginaw is, regardless of where anyone goes, whoever stays, the love of Saginaw, you will never lose the love of Saginaw. And we have residents who are here, who have been here for years, who love this city. And I believe one of the things is we have to invest back into the residents of the city of Saginaw. So one of the things on my platform is we have to invest in true crime prevention. One of the areas that I'm focusing on is, as a city, we have to make sure that we are supporting our community centers. We talk about crime prevention, but our community centers are providing opportunities for our youth to be active, to receive training. But we have to make sure as a city that we are supporting them as well. Another area we have to address within the city of Saginaw is the overwhelming presence of the state police. We have to make sure that those who are here in the city feel safe. They don't have to feel over-policed. We want to make sure that they are feeling comfortable. But most of all, we can't forget the east side right now. Once Saginaw was a home of a thriving industry, but we have to understand that those families are still here. Those families are still here thriving. These are deserving families. So we have to make sure that we are investing in healthy food opportunities. We have to make sure that we also have adequate housing. We also have to make sure that there are equitable job opportunities for those that are here. They are here. We're not leaving. We're not going. We are here to support. We are moving Saginaw forward. And I would believe, as a city, when we empower the citizens of this city, it's a great opportunity with the development, but we have to make sure that we are empowering the cities of this city, because as we empower the citizens of this city,
30 seconds, Mr. Copeland,
of our city. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm thankful for this opportunity to be here with these great candidates.
Thank you guys so much, George. Man, I felt my toes was a little bit tapping over here. Felt like I needed maybe a little bit of a tambourine. And the people in the comments is saying that you're preaching. So I agree with them. But I want to make sure we get to the next person, which is Nathan Cullison. And I'm so excited for him to be able to introduce his platform as well. So Nathan, thank you again for being on the show. And here's your video now.
Thank you, Charles.
I'm Nate Collison, and I approve this message. Saginaw is a special city, one that my family and I have lived in, worked in, sent our kids to school in, and raised our families in for many generations. When my wife and I bought our house in the city and moved back to Saginaw after I finished law school, it was by choice, and not out of necessity. My wife is a high school art teacher and had a great job in the Lansing area, and I had job offers from around the state and country. We could have gone anywhere, but we felt that it was important to move back home and raise our kids in a place where they could grow up around family and have the opportunity to get involved and give back to their community. We also wanted to use our talents and skills to improve our hometown. Basically, to become part of the solution and not part of the problem. As a father of 3 children and a small business owner, public service is a cornerstone of our family philosophy and a key element of how I approach my personal life. As the former chief appellate attorney for the Saginaw County Prosecutor's Office, I served the citizens of Saginaw by fighting for the rights of crime victims and worked to guarantee the constitutional rights of each and every person that was convicted of a crime. Now I defend the rights and liberty of people accused of crimes. Most of my clients are people of color, especially young people that live in our city. Not a day goes by that I don't take a call or a new case that shows me firsthand the inequities and disparities that plague our city and keep us from true prosperity. I also see the many dedicated citizens working tirelessly to make a difference. Serving my fellow citizens as a council person is the next step for me in my pursuit to make a difference in Saginaw. My goal is to make Saginaw a destination for families and businesses who want to grow and prosper, as well as making our city an attractive place for young people to live, work, and raise families. As an attorney, I am proud to be the 4th generation of my family to protect and serve the citizens of Saginaw in the courtroom. As your next council person, I will proudly work to protect and serve your families at City Hall so that we can make Saginaw a place of opportunity for everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Nate, for that beautiful video that you that was just pleasantly displayed. We definitely appreciate that. I felt your heart and your passion as well, sir. And I'm excited to hear more from you tonight, and so excited to hear about all of the work that you have been doing, sir, in the city of Saginaw. And next on the list, and last on the list tonight, but certainly not least, Mr. Tavell Richmond will discuss his platform and his innovations for the city of Saginaw. Tavell.
You, Charles, news tonight for putting this on for us and being able to allow us to reach the community in a different light. As you know, COVID-19 has changed the way we do things, and this is an opportunity for us to be able to connect with the community and for community to connect with us and see who's running for city council and who's looking to change some leadership in the city. I'm a lifelong resident of the city, born and raised. Born on the east side, went to Longfellow Elementary, Central Middle School, and Saginaw High School. And my platform is simple. Enriching the city together is what I've been speaking since I announced my campaign to run for city council. And what that means is being able to come together and move forward this city as one. As you know, if you're a city resident and lived here, you don't necessarily feel like we're growing. You feel like we're just kind of been stagnant, waiting for the next big thing to happen. And we all know a lot of times big things don't happen unless you make that happen. And that's something I want to bring to the city. I want to be able to make knowledge of a lot of things that goes on in the city. We have commissions of board commissions that nobody knows about, seats that are empty. And for them to be able to know, hey, you don't have to be on city council to make an impact and make change in the city. You can add value to the city and to the people. Even we mentioned like the east side, we also have the south side, we have the north side, and we have the west side. That's what enriching the city together. Those areas feel forgotten as well. Not only the east side, those areas feel forgotten as well, and they want to know that this city is going to be a benefit for them. We talk about how residents leave the city, and they don't leave for no reason. They leave because of opportunity. And this is a great city, and I've said this before to myself. Most people who are up in age or who are maybe 30s and up, if you're still in the city, most likely you're going to be in the city. And we need opportunities to for the youth and to be able to expand on that. And I mentioned before in one of my social media videos, Saginaw used to be a hub. It used to be a hub where you can come to the city, you can get a good paying job, raise your family, and live a comfortable life. And that's something that I want to be able to help bring back to the city.
Thank you for that, sir. I appreciate your passion as well. And I'm so excited about all that you have been doing in this city. First of all, I want to start off tonight by saying, guys, again, how much it is so awesome to see these beautiful, unique people. Don't get offended by beautiful, but I feel like we're all beautiful, wonderfully and beautifully made in his image. So we're going to start off with the first question. And just so everyone out there knows that we're going to do this with a rotation tonight. Yesterday, we did not do that. So the first rotation will be answered. Each candidate gets 3 minutes to respond to the questions and a 90-second rebuttal. They all get 2. Each of them get 2 tonight and 2 only. And that has to be directly after the person they want to rebuttal's question. And listen, as you guys know, we all have heart and passion for this city. So you're going to see some heart and some passion tonight about things that concern these people's heart movement. So with that being said, the first question is coming from one of the business owners in the city of Saginaw. His name is Ramon Kelly. And we will play his video now. And the order is Forbes, Copeland, Collison, Tavell for the first question.
Hello, my name is Ramon Kelly. And the question that I have for our candidates is this. What will you do specifically to ensure that our city manager and city inspector are a teammate or ally of the entrepreneurs or business owners or people that want to invest in Saginaw? And I'm not talking about the big corporations. I'm talking about your landlords, your nail salons, clothing stores, people from the city that want to invest in the city. What will they do to make sure that the playing field is equal, is equitable for everyone, and again, that they're an ally and a teammate of these people that are taking a risk to try and bring business to the Saginaw instead of a hindrance or anything like that? What will you do to ensure that and hold them accountable? Thank you.
All right. And first up is Councilwoman Forbes. And the timer is started now.
All right, great. Thank you. I appreciate hearing from Mr. Ramon Kelly tonight. I think that there's probably some details, some specifics that he had in mind when he asked this question. So I would love to hear those specifics to be able to follow up on that. But the things that really come to mind are that we need to advocate for a simple system for all things related to business licenses. I've heard that that the process could be easier. And as a non-business owner, I'd love to hear more details from some of my small business friends to hear more about the specifics of how we might be able to streamline that. In terms of small business in general, I am an absolute supporter of small business. I think that we all show our value system with where we spend our money and our time and where we live and the organizations that we donate to. And so I think that this is really a way that we show our value system by supporting our small business friends. One specific thing that comes to mind is that there has been a lot of COVID-related relief money, and I have really tried to get that out to some small businesses that I thought might not have heard about it any other way. And I really hope that that folks were able to apply for those assistances, because I know that this is such a hard time for them. I worry all the time that we will lose small businesses during this COVID crisis, and just breaks my heart because I know how many folks work so hard to develop their business, to lose it to something that is so out of their control like this. And so in terms of what we can do to advocate for successful small businesses in town through our staff, I think that simplification is most important. And as always, all of us city council members are available. And if there's any questions or concerns, I know that I am absolutely ready to hear those and to be able to push those up the line to see what I can learn for constituents. And so if there's anything specific, I just encourage folks to look up my information. I'm on Facebook. My email information is on the city website, and I'd love to hear from anyone with any specific concerns. So thank you.
And thank you, Councilwoman Forbes, for that answer. Next up is George Copeland.
I am very thankful for this question because small businesses really in this area and what we've seen has kept the money flowing within this community. And since my announcement, I've been trying to make more time. I've been making time to talk to the small business owners and even the city residents who have an idea about what they want to do or how they get involved. One of the things here in the city of Saginaw that many of our residents aren't aware of is the Saginaw Economic Corporation, as well as the Small Business Development Center, which is right here in the city of Saginaw. This is information that we have to make sure is reaching all of Saginaw. These are resources that our small businesses need, but we have to make sure it's not a obstacle to get to someone and to speak with them. We have to make sure that the applications and the applications for loans are easy to apply for. We have to make sure that they are easy to apply for. But in it all, we have to work together. I love to see the entrepreneurship that is taking place here in the city of Saginaw. So we have to make sure that we are creating even in the city. And I'm being honest. This is my first time in politics, but I really believe if we begin to look at the budget and see within the city budget, can we create a small business funding that where it will be directly through the city and we can make sure that this information is to the residents and to all the small business owners, maybe not the people that are just downtown, but even the people who are on the north side, on the east side. We have to make sure that the information that we have within the city is reaching our total city. Thank you.
And thank you. And next up on the same question will be Mr. Nathan Cullison.
Thanks, Charles. When I left the prosecutor's office almost 2 years ago, I started my own law firm, and I wanted it to be in the city because I have 3 kids, and the closer I am to where I work, the easier it is to get them to school and childcare. But I quickly found out that even a business license in the city of Saginaw is 5 times more than it is in Saginaw Township. As a matter of fact, utilities like water and service, sewer, and garbage collection are also more expensive here in the city. My law partner and I just bought a building on North Michigan. We closed on it about a month ago. And only after we closed on this building did I find out that not only that even though everything was up to code, as far as what was considered safe and sanitary for the plumbing system, but they require all transfers of commercial property in the city to upgrade this thing called a backflow prevention valve. Now, that valve itself costs $500. Then you have to go hire a plumber to come in and do it, and it's not an easy thing to do. Then after that gets done, you have to have somebody else come back and have it inspected and certified for the city. Now, there's nothing wrong with our backflow prevention system, just like any other building. But because I bought it, I had to go back and spend over $2,000 to get everything up to the way that the city wanted it to be. Now, accountability for these things are key, right? City council members need to know what's going on in these different departments. They can't just rely on a city manager or an inspector to say, oh, okay, everything's fine. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. And if there is a situation of inequity, and people complain all the time that, and I've heard it, that's the case, that there's certain people that are able to do certain things as far as business and development in the city that other people can't do. They compare it to the good old boys network of sorts. But that's not okay. And accountability is the key to resolving that. And if we got to bring in a forensic accounting firm, we got to bring in somebody to audit all of these practices and to compare the kinds of deals that some people are getting versus the kinds of deals that other people are getting, then we need to do it, and we need to do it right away.
Thank you for that. And next up is Tavo Richmond.
Okay. So mine is pretty simple. Go into the office of the city manager and the city inspector and ask them how they're investing into the city. That's simple. The only way you're going to be able to invest in the city is you have to move the hand of the people who decides where the money is going. For example, when when City Hall, when they decided to remodel the steps, and they spent, I think $140,000 to restructure the steps, that bid went to a company out in Detroit. And so my question is, how many companies, how many local businesses were in on that bid? If you're going to reinvest in the city, then you have to make sure that small businesses in the city are at the table and getting these bids as well. That's the only way businesses are going to want to come here. Businesses are going to want to stay here. If they see that you're not investing in them, then there's no point of being in the city. They're going to go to the township. They're going to go to other counties. Why? Because those counties are investing in them. And for you to go to the city manager and say, hey, what are we doing? We have a situation in the city with blight. And I know that the city cleans up a lot of the blight and a lot of the cutting grass throughout the city. But there's tons of lawn care businesses and small business, local business in this city. What's so hard of not contracting them to help out some of this blight? It's pretty much, hey, you have to invest in the small businesses, and you have to be able to say, hey, we're here for you. How can we help? And that's something that, as a city council member, I feel that I will go to the city manager and say, hey, what's on the table, and who are we investing in, so that we can make sure that these small businesses stay in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richmond, and thank you all for your answers. So we're not going to belay the time. We're going to get right to the next question. And before we do that, I want to make sure we know that the first person starting next is Tavo Richmond, and then Nathan Cullison, then George Copeland, and then Councilwoman Jamie Forbes.
Good evening. I am Joyce Seals, and I'm former mayor of the city of Saginaw and also a current board member for the Saginaw School District. I'd like to ask candidates a question tonight, slightly different than I did the previous evening. I'd like to know from your perspective, what impact has the Saginaw's tax cap had on the budget and the services that they can provide to the citizens of the city of Saginaw?
All right, Tavo.
Well, the tax cap, it's definitely I believe has made a hindrance to the city, to where the citizens can't necessarily provide as they would like to. I myself believe that maybe it can be lifted, so therefore that residents are able to provide more services for the city, so that we can grow and we can move forward. A lot of residents and people in general, they don't like the idea of being capped. And so being able to lift that cap and being able to change the budget and restructure the city and its residents, and possibly have people outside of the city want to become a resident as well.
All right. Mr. Cope. Sorry, Mr. Cullison.
Thanks, Charles. I want to tell Ms. Seals, thank you for her question. This is an area that I'm very interested in. Now, first of all, Saginaw actually has two tax caps. They were both established back in 1979. One imposes a millage rate cap of 7.5 mils, and the other has a dollar limit on the amount of property tax that the city can actually collect. So prior to 1979, the city was able to levy 10 mils. In 1979, the charter was amended to reduce that rate down to 7.5. This is what we call the rate cap. And the dollar amount was also limited to the actual amount that 7.5 mils yielded in 1979. Call that the dollar cap. And there's no adjustment for inflation. This was $3.8 million in 1979. The 1979 changes not only reduced the revenue for vital city services, but also prevented the city from benefiting from growth by limiting the actual dollar amount it could collect from the property taxes based on the millage cap rate. So the city can only collect the same dollar amount, $3.8 million, that it collected in 1979. So now, no matter how much Saginaw grows, no matter how many new homes or businesses are created, the city cannot collect more money than it did 41 years ago. Now think about that. I don't know any family or business that could operate living on the same income from 1979 when everything else gets more expensive. So my concern is that the city can no longer absorb cutbacks on services, cutbacks on other vital city functions, and without reducing and eliminating things that the citizens need and take for granted, and things that they deserve. So we get rid of the tax caps, then we can look at other revenue streams.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Mr. Copeland.
All right, thank you again. I am not going to be redundant tonight. So I'm just going to let you know where I stand. I support lifting the tax cap. At this point, I'm also support in holding us accountable. We have to make sure with lifting the tax cap that we are being accountable. I see that Mr. Flores told us that we have forensic accounting firm that works with the city. But when I'm thinking about our funding, we have to make sure that whatever we do, it is going to benefit the community. Making sure that even as we lift the tax cap, that the funds that we receive are going to expand the services that benefits our community. Thank you.
You're muted, but I think I saw my name.
Yes, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Forbes.
So I couldn't agree more. I think that Nate did a great job explaining the details of the tax cap. I think that this is something that we don't talk about enough in the city, because it absolutely explains so many decisions that have been made in the past and are made currently, as it reflects to where our limitations are as a city. And so there have been so many tough decisions made where there was no good options in the past, where we were so limited on money. And a lot of those tough decisions have put us in a pretty good place financially here in the city. We have a relatively stable financial situation. But that being said, we had to cut tons of wonderful programs in order to get to that place. And it has absolutely impacted our quality of life. I think the one that I hear the most from people is reflecting on the recreation programs that we used to have for young people in the city, and how that was so many people's first jobs. It was so many people's ways to make connections in the community, to get other jobs, and to really progress in their careers and in their futures. And to have lost programs like that, it has a huge impact on the success of people that live here. And I think that absolutely we must lift the tax cap. It's been tried many times before. And I think that we need to get innovative about how we message this. And it would really have to be something that we would have to organize. I mean, this is something that I've talked about in my past position with the Ezekiel Project, where I worked with Joyce Seals on this very thing. I think that it would have to be just a perfect messaging campaign to show people why lifting that cap would allow us to slowly recover some of this pain that we've suffered over the years. It's important to talk about how this is not an overnight fix. Lifting the tax cap would not mean that we have tons of money to do all these great things. It would be a slow recovery. It would just allow us to start increasing our tax base in small increments to try to get back to where we could have been. And this would take decades. But this is something so important, a decision now that would have such a big impact on the future of Saginaw. And I couldn't agree more that this is absolutely necessary for the future of Saginaw and the quality of life of the people who live here. So I would absolutely support lifting the cap. I would do anything within my power to make that happen. So very, very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you all for your answers. Again, the next question comes from a business owner in the city of Saginaw as well, which would be one of the establishments that may have been affected. The name of the business is White's Bar, and we're going to roll that question now. And the next order will be, Nathan Cullison starting first, George Copeland going second, Councilwoman Forbes, Tavell going last.
My name is Alicia Goldenzoff. I'm from White's Bar in Saginaw. I wanted to ask the city council candidates if they are planning on doing anything for the businesses in the city of Saginaw, whether or not tax cuts or anything that they can do to help us small businesses, especially those of us that have been closed down permanently for 6 months or longer, and what they can do to help us all get back on our feet. Thank you very much.
Did everyone hear the question? Because I did hear reverberation.
No, I heard it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Nathan.
Thank you, Charles. Now, first of all, the most important thing when you're talking about a government interacting with its citizens and its business owners is to have good channels of communication. You need to know, not only as a business owner, that the city is there for you to help you out, because most people's businesses, especially a small business like a family bar, that's their passion. They probably spend more time there than they do with their own families. And they care a great deal about its success. And to know that the city is there to support you helps make those long hours and those long days easier. But in order to really help business owners, the city needs to know what help they need. So the first thing you got to do is the city's got to sit down with the business community and say, what can we do? What do you need from us? How can we help you? And once that line of communication is open and those conversations are had, then we can begin to take the necessary steps to address their concerns, to fill the holes, to help address the needs that they have, whether it's tax cuts, working with people on the utility rates, or any other aspect of their business that the city is able to help them with. Now, there wasn't necessarily specific, she mentioned tax cuts, but let's take a look at that. Where does the tax money go? How does it fit into the budget? And the bottom line here is to make sure that the business community and the city are on the same page so they can work together to make a relationship that's beneficial for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Cullison. Mr. Copeland.
Nate, that was a great answer, because that was actually one of the first things that came into my mind when I started hearing her question, because I've watched her story on the news and the reality of what a lot of our small businesses are dealing with. And the first thing is I want to know, what are the needs? What is it that they are in need of? And I'm going to go back to holding organizations accountable. Within the state dispersed funding to go to different organizations that were in charge of dispersing those funds. One of those areas is I wanted to know, where was the communication to make sure that our small businesses were aware? Where were, and I know of some small business owners who got access to the information, but because there were small details that they didn't know they needed to complete, they waited. And because by the time they reapplied, they lost their space to receive those fundings, which I believe we have to make sure that as we, even if we work to increase taxing, to decrease the taxes for our businesses, It really comes down to accountability and communication. In order for us to work together, we have to communicate the needs of what our small businesses need. And as if elected to city council, my goal is to support our small businesses because they keep the local funding going and making sure that the information that our small business needs, we are communicating that to all of Saginaw.
So not to jump on the bandwagon again, but I agree with so much that's been said already. I think that we spoke previously about the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation, which has offered a lot of resources for small and minority-owned businesses in the past few months, and I hope that that we receive some more federal or state dollars to be able to continue some of those programs. I agree that there seems to be a tough time with the paperwork associated with that, and I think that that is to a certain degree the nature of small business getting a little less attention than these big companies that were able to snag some of those dollars. But I am thankful that we have wonderful banks in town that I hope we're able to facilitate as easy an application process as possible for our small businesses. So the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation does have a revolving loan program that is the whole purpose is to provide some gap funding for small businesses that need to, to get past a tough time, which this is like the mother of all tough times. But they also had some forgivable loans that they did a few months ago, and that all comes from the community block grant funds, which are a federal program. Which, by the way, this is where the census really matters because our census numbers have a huge impact on the availability of those funds. So please finish your census. I also want to bring up that the city funds, partially funds Saginaw Future, which is the economic development firm for the county of Saginaw. They were able to do $3.5 million targeted at small businesses and minority-owned businesses. So there again, hopefully some of those federal funds will come through so we can pursue those kinds of grants again. Just a small shout out to the Small Business Development Center at Saginaw Valley. They have wonderful resources for small business, not only for existing businesses, but for those that are someone has a dream and wants to pursue a business plan and to start a business. They're a wonderful resource as well. And then I think that it's really important for we as city council members to advocate at the state level and the federal level for funds like this. This is a bit of a tough time. These programs from the state and feds come down to us to distribute, but they're the ones that have to make the decisions. And so it's really important that we're out listening and communicating with our small business folks so that we can go to our state representatives, to our state senators, and to our congressmen to make sure that they know exactly what to ask for at the state and federal level to be able to help our folks best. And I think that communication is just essential and is really a focus of my time on council and would continue to be if I'm given the opportunity to continue to serve. Thank you.
Tabo? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So small business in the city, to be able to have somewhat of a tax cut, that's something that I believe that should be brought to the table and talked about like they mentioned at the state and the federal level. I know a few small business owners in the city, and not everybody wants to take a loan out to help fund and support their business. When you think of a loan, most people, they think of debt. That's another bill that they have to pay. I believe workshops where they can learn about how to apply for those grants like Jamie talked about, and that's federally funded, that they don't have to worry about one day having to pay back, because initially they are in business for themselves to not only provide for their families, but to provide a service for the citizens of the city. And to be able to have some type of relief on that would definitely benefit them. If you own a business in the city or if you work in the city, you get taxed federal, state, and city-wise. And that's something that is a huge cloud on a lot of people, which is why they try to take their businesses elsewhere. You definitely have to give some type of advantage for businesses who are in the city. That's going to keep them within our limits. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for your wonderful answers today. We definitely appreciate you and all that passion and heart that everyone has. So listen, I want the viewers to know right now, we are coming up on our intermission here, and it is impossible for us all to sit here for over 2 hours and not have human function. So with that being said, before I do that, I want to let you know for the second half of tonight, there will be a moment at the end for your questions, you in the city of Saginaw, that we did not reach out to or did not send us questions to ask these candidates. We opened it up last night for everyone as well. So why don't you start commenting in that comment section below? There's 21 of you viewing now. You can go ahead and share the video as well for our intermission. So you're going to have our 5-minute intermission here starting now. It messed that up. I'm sorry. I didn't know that that was gonna happen like that. No, I did. Man, that song rock though. But anyways,
No, yeah, that song's awesome, man.
Thank you, guys. Welcome back to the second night of our season 2 premiere of Black News Tonight. We just came off break, so while we were away, we opened up the forum for people to ask questions personally throughout the city. We have about 2 more questions that are already in our forum, and then we will open it up. So we're going to roll the next question, and I'm going to give the order now. The next question will start off with George Copeland. After that will be Pavel. After that will be Councilwoman Forbes, and then ending that question with Nathan Cullison.
Hello, my name is Cecilia Olvera, and I was born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan. I am of proud Mexican American and Native American descent, and my question tonight is in regards to the monument on Ojibwe Island and similar monuments. What is your knowledge on this issue? What do you think should be done to address citizen concerns? And how can we educate the public in a way that is multi-perspective and honest to the cruelty of colonization? Thank you.
That's CC from Empower Saginaw. That's the co-chair of this debate. And as we stated the order, go ahead, Mr. Copeland.
Mic check, Mr. Copeland.
You said her name CC?
Yes. Well, Cecilia, but I
Okay.
have issues with those, so I say CC.
I just want to say thank you for this question. I recently became aware, actually from someone who shared it on Facebook, I recently became aware of this monument. And I'm going to be honest and truthful. As a Black man, I have seen these countless amount of times. And one of the things that I have found is, as citizens, as we have so much power in our voice. We have so much power in our voice that as we continue to use our voice, we will begin to see things change. One thing that I think should be addressed, and it kind of leads me into one of my platforms that I really, really hold dear in regards to working within city council. And I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to integrate cultural competency assessments and the hiring of all municipality employees. Because if we had a department that was really culturally competent, we would have seen this situation would have caused serious concerns. And one of I feel disappointed because I feel like it just snuck up on us, that someone just snuck up on us. And so that's where in my areas where I believe that is imperative. As a city, we have to integrate cultural competency as an assessment. We know the history of Saginaw. And if we don't get down to the root cause and really begin to address the underlying issues that still reside, we will continue to see things like this. But it has to be one, the citizens continue to use your voice. And also, as a councilman, I will encourage, I fully support that we make sure that cultural competency assessments and training is imperative to us as city employees.
Tabo?
Okay, great answer, by the way, from George. And speaking on that, I believe that our residents, like he even said, our residents, they continue to use their voice. And one thing I believe is, I call myself, kind of the people's voice, is that we need to not only listen to their voices, but actually take action. I think a lot of residents and citizens, they feel like, oh, I'm just speaking, I'm speaking out, but nobody's taking action. And that's what needs to happen. We need to take action, and we need to find out, okay, how can we address this issue that is a concern to a lot of people, and make sure that, hey, we're putting the citizens forward, we're putting our residents forward, and we're putting them first so that they know we do care about them. Over time, if you just kind of keep putting it on the wayside and not necessarily say anything and say, oh yeah, we're going to take care of it, eventually people are going to know hey, we've talked about this multiple times and nobody has said anything. Nobody has done anything. It's action. Action has to happen in order for change to happen, and that's something that I will bring to the table.
Councilwoman Forbes.
So I love this question. This is so timely for sure. So I think that this is an excellent example of one particular citizen really taking this on. So this was in conversations around town about like what's with the deal with this statue, and Sebastian Fig, a friend of mine, came forward to City Council and said, this is problematic. What are we going to do about this, right? He organized a group of folks that got a bunch of signatures to show that they were in support of some better solution to this problematic statue right in the middle of town. And he actually formed a committee and proposed it to City Manager Morales that I thought was just a really wonderful group of folks. So it was representatives from several Native American communities, a sociology professor from Saginaw Valley, a history professor, somebody from the Castle Museum, to really bring context to this conversation. And this is something that he came and reported on to council and really moved on. And last I heard, that committee was forming, that they had really brainstormed the history of this particular statue and the sort of situation that we were in when they placed it on Ojibwe Island. And I think that this is exactly the kind of thing that, of course I love community organizing, but we really can make change happen. And this is a perfect example of this group of folks got together and they're going to make a plan about what they think is the most appropriate way to solve this debate that we're having as a community. And I heard so many great solutions. I have full confidence that this committee is going to be able to hatch a plan that is the most agreeable to all parties. The fact that we celebrate Henry Novell for being the first white man is just, that's not appropriate for us to have on Ojibwe Island. So I'm really eager to see what this committee comes up with that will be best for everyone. And so I think this is just a great example of, this is a small enough place. One person can make change happen. And that's what Sebastian Fig has done for this monument. And I am so proud of the movement that has taken place around
30
this
seconds,
issue. Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Coles.
Thanks, Charles. First of all, I'm going to say this without reservation. It has to go. Got to take it down. Got to get rid of it. Now, I'm not even going to call it a monument. It's a rock, because it doesn't really deserve to be called a monument. Things that you can take pride in, those are monuments. Now, that rock is set there to commemorate the spot where Henry Novell, who was a Catholic priest, was being the first white man to celebrate Mass in the Saginaw Valley. Now, I graduated from Novell Catholic Central. It's named after the guy. They can take it for all I care. We've got to go. And I told Miss Forbes and I had a conversation about this not too long ago, and I told her the same thing. Now, what it represented then doesn't really matter. We have to look at it in our current context, both socially and politically, and it doesn't have a place on that island. Furthermore, there's other implications. I believe there's constitutional implications, because you have a monument on public land celebrating the performance of a inherently religious ceremony. Now, we have a separation between church and state. So ask yourselves, is it the role of the government to be celebrating the occurrence of a religious ceremony on public land? I don't think that it is. And it has to go.
Thank you for all of those answers. I am going to take our first question out from the outside. And you guys have seen one of these questions in the chat right now. You've seen a couple of them. So the first one's going to be, and I think this is a good question because I feel like we've kind of got there. We haven't gotten all the way there. But this question was asked in last night's forum, and he asked it again today. So here we are. Police accountability. What role should the council play in the accountability piece with the police department? Do you believe in reform or defunding? And this order, first of all, before we even answer this question, I would like to totally thank Councilwoman Forbes for being here. She is an incumbent, and I truly appreciate her and Reggie Williams for being involved in this this virtual debate. They both already serve on council, and as well as all of the new bloods, I like to call new bloods. But listen, when you say new, it's hard to say new bloods when all of y'all got extensive work in the city. So I just thank all of the passionate people. But I definitely wanted to thank Councilwoman Forbes and Reggie Williams for sitting on this platform with us. And we'll start this one off with Councilwoman Forbes, moving right then after that to Tayvel Richmond, after that to Nathan Cullison, and ending with George Copeland.
Thank you, Charles. I appreciate that. It's my pleasure to be here. So yeah, this is a very, very important issue for so many reasons. I think that there are so many aspects to this that we could cover, and I only have 3 minutes. So let me say that that I believe that the term defund the police is a very complex and misleading statement. I think that what defund the police means in practice is that we have a bunch of reasons why we call 911, and there's a bunch of different things that we expect the police to be able to react to, right? We've got violence, but we've also got mental health problems. We have issues of addiction and domestic violence, all kinds of things. And I think that the whole idea of defund the police is simply to say, let's think about the way that we react to these issues of crisis, and let's step back and think about if we're doing that the best way. And I think we could do better. I think we can all say that we have seen across the country incredible police brutality, and we have seen police brutality in this city. And my dog and my cat want to be on this, so I'm sorry about this. So there are so many things that we can talk about when it comes to issues of oversight. So we had a citizens advisory board in the city of Saginaw before, years ago, and it finally kind of just ran aground, and there was nothing like this for a couple of years. Currently on council, we have just heard our first reading of an ordinance that would found a Citizens Police Advisory Commission. I think that this is really different from what we had before and will offer a much broader group of representation from across the community. So we're talking about a youth member, a member nominated by the NAACP or a similar organization in the city, someone from the Mexican American Council, someone from an LGBTQIA organization, someone from a neighborhood association, and I think the most important member will be someone who has been previously incarcerated and convicted of a crime. I think that's incredibly important. Criminal justice reform requires that the people impacted by the criminal justice system be present. One mental health professional, a member at large. So I think it's really important that this committee be a thing that offer some insight into. So if there's a complaint that comes through, this committee would have access to all the videos, all the documentation, all the information to be able to recommend a path. They would also be a better a conduit for the police department to hear about what the community is thinking, where their concerns are. And I think that that this is just one tiny step, right? There's a bunch of other things that we could work on. I'm interested in having more places where people can fill out complaints about police conduct. So rather than just City Hall and the police station, I'd be interested in having that maybe at community centers or a place where you could fill it out online on an app or something like that to really remove the organization that has traumatized you from the place that you have to complain about that organization. I'm interested in perhaps talking to Delta College, where a lot of our officers go to the academy. Could we have some different focuses where officers could really have extra education on? Are we timed out? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the thing. I apologize. Too many things to cover.
No problem.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Okay.
Sorry, maybe I was just talking too loudly here.
No, okay. Well, that's just Danger in the background. Danger's the timer tonight. He took on that responsibility, so he'll give you a 30-second warning by vocal. The people can hear it, but if it just, I was just making sure you knew that we're at time. So next up,
Sure everyone can hear the prompts. Can everyone hear my voice right now? I'll try to be a little louder. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit of an introvert.
Okay, Danger. Next up on the list is Tavell Richmond.
Okay, so on this topic, police accountability, it's simple. You have to be held accountable for your actions. If you're a doctor and you misdiagnose somebody, you're held accountable. If you're a lawyer and you don't do the best to your client's ability, you're held accountable. If you're a teacher and you do misconduct, you're held accountable. Every profession in the nation is held accountable except for the police department. And I actually worked at the police department for 3 years in the inside, not as a police officer, but in the inside. And I do believe in restructuring, defunding for our city police. When you talk about defunding, of course, I believe we mentioned they have a $25 million. I'm not too sure on that budget, but they don't have any riot gear. They can't use batons. They haven't purchased a new vehicle probably in the last 4 or 5 years. And so most of that money is going to the employees. Now, back in the year 2000, we had 150 officers on patrol. And now I think we're at 70, 71 maybe. And even before that, the reason why the state police came in was because a contract didn't go through between through the city for public safety, was caused about 17 layoffs and about 17 retirements, which left 4 city officers per shift on the road. So the state police decided to come in and they say patrol, but I'm just going to be honest. I've grown up in a city. The state police don't patrol. They rampage throughout the city. And that they are, I think Reggie talked about it last night, is they are the area where most of the complaints come from. And that's something that needs to change. And I will say, by me working at the police department, I can say that the personnel has changed from the time that I worked there. I worked there about 8 years ago. I worked there when the Milton Hall case happened. They were preparing me for a riot, and I would have had to go to work. And I remember officers that was on that case, and accountability didn't happen for those officers. Out of every officer that was on that case, I believe one of them is not a police officer.
30 seconds remain.
That's because they retired. So you still have all these officers on the road. So where was the accountability? So we do need to make accountability happen. And what it is a lack of fear. It's fear. It's lack of experience. They need to. If you want to work in the city, you have to live in this. You should live in this city. And you should be a part of it.
5 second wrap up.
Thank you.
Nathan Cullison.
Thank you. I just want to touch on something that Mr. Richmond just said. Now, first of all, I agree. You want to be a patrol officer, police officer in our city, you should live here. But there's state law that says you can't make officers live in the community that they patrol. They have to live within a certain distance, but they don't have to live here. They changed that a number of years ago down in the legislature. It used to be a requirement, but now it's not. Now, second, I wrote an article in the Review magazine this summer, which I posted in the comments on Facebook just now. And in that article, I talk about accountability. I talk about the lack of transparency. And in that article, I drafted a number of questions which were submitted directly to our police chief here in Saginaw, and they were printed in the article. And to date, he has not responded to any of them, despite emails and telephone calls. I never even so much got a call back. Neither did anybody over at Review Magazine. We're still waiting for his answers. And I encourage you, follow that link and read it. And you tell me if you want answers to those questions. And go to my website, collisonforcouncil.com, and you can read it there too. Now, if we're talking about reforming or defunding, I think it's actually a combination of the two. I'm not necessarily in favor of defunding in the sense that everybody, the immediate connotation that word has, but really it's not defunding the police. It should be refunding the people. It should be making sure that the tax dollars that we spend to fund those budgets get spent in ways that most benefit the population that the police patrols, the population that's supposed to benefit from their service. Now, I was a prosecutor for 5 years. I handled hundreds of cases, and police officers have a tough job. I don't think anybody denies that. But we need to take a look at their budgets. We need to take a look at their training. We need to know what kind of services that they offer for calls where really it's just a mental health issue. What are we doing with nonviolent crimes as far as police practices and incarceration? What are we doing with people who have drug problems and they shouldn't go to prison? They should go to rehab.
30 seconds for me.
Counseling service. The issue here is transparency. It is our police department. They're there to protect and to serve us. And until they start doing that, we need to know answers. They should be out front giving them to us.
Thank you all for those answers. And the next up is George Copeland.
All right. For me, this has been a popular topic. Popular topic. And I'm going to be honest, it's very, I get grieved a lot because as a Black man living an experience, you get tired having to defend your life being worth something and people coming up with all the alternatives to bring up, it's a tough job and things like that. We know that. But growing up as young as 13, knowing that, it wasn't it was tough. It was tough understanding, and it was a fear. Even to this day, as a grown man with a child, I still have those moments. And I think for me, you can't lead if you don't love. And I'm gonna be, it sounds fluffy, but I'm honest. My heart is anything that I do is coming out of a place of love, transparency, and accountability. And the reality is you can't save where you don't serve. And, and I'm thankful that Nate gave that information. But as city council, we can say that, even bringing in incentives to bring our police officers back to our neighborhoods, because how can you serve someone you don't even really know if the only time you come here is to police, to police? That's a concern that we really have to talk about. You can't overlook it. You have to talk about it. I cannot serve a people if I believe the stigmas or I make time and I'm not even making time to be there. Also, one of the parts of that question is where the city council. There's power for the citizens. There's powers for the citizens. So Jamie, I'm thankful that you share that information and what's gone forth and what the current city council is doing. But I really also believe we have to take that a step further and make sure that this commission is reporting to the city council consistently, because we can always start things and it kind of falls off, and I'm going to tell the truth. I've been a part of committees and I haven't met in probably 2 months. So we have to make sure that we are providing a space as city council, that we as city council are holding the commission accountable as well. And so we have to make sure that
30 seconds from me.
Thank you. Showing up to the scene is not crime prevention. So we have to make sure that we are funding. If we're talking about fear and crime, we have to make sure that we're redirecting those funds to prevent crime. And if we continue to do that, it's so important that we at this time have to reassess our values. Are we going to take the time to constantly
5-second wrap up?
Are we going to make the time to make excuses? Are we going to come to the table and say, we have to fix this and move forward? Thank you.
Thank you. We have a rebuttal from Nathan Cullison. 90 seconds on the clock.
Thank you, Charles.
Nate?
I just want to touch on something that Mr. Copeland said. I absolutely agree. And we can't force police officers to live in the city, but they need to have connection to their community. How likely is some officer going to use excessive force on somebody if their cousin or their aunt or their grandma or somebody lives down the street from them and there's a connection there? And there should be incentives. Maybe you start out at a higher pay rate or at a higher step or a higher track or whatever the case may be. Incentivizing officers to live in our city is key, because the way that it used to be back in the day, when police officers were your neighbors, you saw them at the grocery store, you saw them out when you'd go, out to dinner with your family. They knew your name, they knew who your family was, what neighborhood you were from. Things were different. The attitude between citizens and police, it was different. And we need to get back to that. We need to look at the options.
30 seconds.
Make sure these officers have ties to their community. Instead of driving in from Freeland or from Grand Blanc or from wherever to come to work, they should wake up where they work.
George has a rebuttal. You're muted.
Mic check.
Y'all see, I'm excited. I love my city. I love my city, and I want us to move forward. And even when we have to talk about the state police, we have to make sure as city council, if they are going to be here in the city of Saginaw and our students, and I work at a university, sorry, I'm always thinking about my students. And if we are going to make sure as a city, those are where the concerns are coming from. As a city council, as a community, we have to make sure the state comes to the table and we talk about that. We're just not going to have the state police just sitting around ready to, terrorize you. We have to have you in the community. If you're going to be here, we have to make sure that we are building relationship, not just with our city police, but we have to talk about the over policing within the city of Saginaw as well. Thank you.
Are we clear? Okay. All right. Thank you all for those incredible answers. I have one more question regarding policing while we're here. And I think most of you touched on it. We talked about policemen not living in the same community that they're policing in. We've talked about that. But Indigo Dudley wants to know, how do we repair the relationships with police and the citizens here in the city? Now, whether that means that we set up different ways to get the police meeting the community, because unfortunately, even myself understand what it means to be in this city and the policing that goes on in this city. So how do we repair the relationship between the citizens and the police in our community? Can we start this off with Councilwoman Forbes, if that would be okay? And we'll move on to George. We'll end with Nate Cullison, and Tavell, you can go in the center there.
So I think this is a super important question, and I think it's been something that there's a few organizations in town that have been working on this for a while, but I think that what we see happening between the police and the community lately really does just reinvigorate that effort that we really do need to make space for our police officers to have interactions with our community members that are not negative. When every interaction you have with the police is your worst day ever, when it is perhaps feels unfair or is unfair, I think that we have to create other moments where we can try to develop empathy for each other. And I think that there are some organizations that are really good at that already, but we need to absolutely double down and try to create moments where we can know something about that other person outside of these crisis moments. I mean, I think that some of the stuff that we've already mentioned here is just very important, and it's just not enough. You know, what we've done so far is just not enough, and so we need to step up those efforts. And be more intentional about relationship building, so that we can try to prevent more violence in the future and keep people safe. And so I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to do that, right? There's basketball games, there's community policing, there's lifting the tax cap so we can hire more community police officers. I think there's a lot of different angles that we could take here. And really supporting the organizations that are already out there that are already doing this. But I mean, yeah. We're all going to agree on this one, I'm afraid, but this is very, very important. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Copeland.
I really believe we have to build a relationship. If we look at the history of the communities, I've had one of the most great times just walking around, stopping by random homes and just talking to people who are outside, just getting to know more people. We have to build a relationship. Through the years of frustration and pain, that weighs away a relationship. And so we've seen certain people sit down with it. It's transparency at this point. I really believe that we don't need another meeting. We need people outside in the communities, knocking on doors, building a relationship that way, not here, because here intentionally building a relationship with people. And I think, and Jamie, we've seen that, the organization right now, it takes each of us, and this is a conversation that has to be had with each police officer. It takes each of us addressing our own prejudices, our own issues, and really looking at each other with eyes of empathy. Before I see you, really get to know you, before I take that time of just thinking what I think about you, really getting to know you. I've had the privilege of getting a chance to talk to Jamie and talking to a lot of other residents. And I had a chance to talk to a family who had been here for 60 years, lived on the same street for 60 years. And the concern that she had when it came down to police, she's been here for 60 years. And why did she feel that there was a disconnect? That's nothing on her. She's been here for 60 years. She's worked. She's done what she needs to do. It's the work of those who the trust was broken. They have to begin to do the work. And it takes getting out there and building the relationships and having the conversations, not putting the work on the citizens, because the citizens have been dealing with this for years. It's now being honest, transparent, and really within the department, holding them accountable. And so we're going to do what we can to rebuild the relationship with the citizens of Saginaw.
Thank you, George. Tabo Richmond.
Mic check, sir.
I muted myself. I believe rebuilding relationship is very, very important. I myself, I've had the opportunity to actually become a police officer in the city for about the past 5 years. The offers has always been on the table. But I never took it because I realized, I can't change the face of the department on my own. As bad as I would want to, and being able to reach out to the community and reach out to the youth, I can't do it on my own. I believe that I have good character, and I would make a good impact, but it has to be a whole, and it's a character problem. It shouldn't just be a job. It has to be a character problem. We need to have some recruitments within the city where the police department goes back into the schools and talk to the students about police work and criminal justice and knowing their rights. If you're enforcing rights, why can't you teach kids and teach youth about their rights? Of course, a lot of them probably say that's not their job, but you're a public servant. So it shouldn't be that hard to be able to, hey, this is your rights, this is what you should do when you get stopped. So that way they have knowledge of it. And being in the community. And we talk about community policing, and community policing is not like an extra position. It's just a position you apply for. Like you don't hire a detective, you don't hire community police, you apply for a community police. And in the city, if you think community police, you only really think of one officer, and that's bad. How is it that we have a staff of 70 plus officers, and when you talk about community police, you think of one officer? That doesn't work. Um, Maybe an idea, possibly some substations in the city where the this area that you're patrolling in, hey, you can get out and be in an area where people can come to you. Of course, they'll say, hey, I'm in patrol car. People can always come up and talk to me, but they're not necessarily accessible that way. And building that relationship, kind of off what George said, is that relationship needs to be rebuilt, and it has to start on both ends. You got one end who's scared and who doesn't like the police, but you got on the other end the police themselves, and they may have to take more of an initiative, because again, you're in the community that you're policing.
30 seconds remain.
You're working in this community for however long, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. It's probably good that you get to know the community and build a relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last up, Nathan Coles.
Thanks, Charles. First of all, the answer to this question is not easy, and I don't think that there is any one right answer, because if it was out there, communities all across the country would have figured it out. They'd already be doing it. And Saginaw's solution will be hard, but nothing worth doing is ever easy. Trust and respect is earned. It's not something that people just give away freely. And it takes time and effort to build. And once that trust is broken, then also by the wayside goes respect. Now, what's the answer? I think that it's going to be a combination of things. It's going to be an effort from departments. It's going to be an effort from city council, from the city manager, from the staff, to make sure that there's transparency. Because guess what? If the people know what's going on and they know how it's done and why things are done the way they are, then they might be a little more inclined to trust. And if they see respect from the officers, they may be a little more inclined to give it back. I know a lot of police officers in this city, and a lot of them, the ones that I know, are good people. And deep down, they care about their job and they care about what they're sworn to do. But the people need to know that. They need to know who these people are, which is why having them present in the community is important. It was said here today a couple of times that showing up at a crime scene is not preventing crime. It's dealing with it after it already happens. And really, that's what happens all over this city. Crime prevention has taken a back seat to law enforcement. There's a difference. And as soon as that difference is fully realized by the police department and support staff and the agencies that provide funding and training, the sooner we can get into a situation where our population trusts that they're not going to be pulled over because of what color they are. They're not going to be stopped from walking down the street because of what neighborhood they're in or what they look like. They're going to be able
30 seconds remain.
They're going to be able to know that when a police officer drives by, listen, what I want for everybody in the city is for when a police officer drives by, they don't get that tightness in their chest and that anxiety. When a police officer pulls up behind them while they're driving, that they don't get this tightness and anxiety because they're afraid of the potential encounter with them. That's not okay. And we need to take the steps necessary to make sure that that stops happening.
Thank you all for your answers for that question. We are open now, guys, to take questions from the city. That was actually one from the city. The next one that we would like to take is from Brandon Harris. And I think this is a really good question when we talk about the structure of the government in the city of Saginaw, which you all are running for. All of you are candidates for city council, also including Councilwoman Jamie Forbes, who is still currently serving us right now. So with that being said, this is a question from Brandon Harris. It says, would you support switching the current structure of the city council to a ward system? Similar to Bay City and Flint, a ward system would provide more representation for the citizens within the city of Saginaw. Now, this is a randomizer. Richmond, Copeland, Cullison, and Councilwoman Forbes will end this question.
Yes, I would definitely support that, so there's more representation within the city. The structure, in my idea is the structure does need to change, and it's 2020. You can't operate on things that were created decades ago. It's time to change, it's time to revamp, and time to move forward. We can't talk about move forward and don't make the necessary changes to move forward. And we need more input from the citizens. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people, they voice their opinions, and nothing happens after that. And the people that are making decisions, city council, city managers, they need to be held accountable. If I'm on city council, hold me accountable. If you feel like something is not going right in the city and your representation of the city is not being upheld, hold me accountable. And our job as the city council is to hold the city managers accountable if things are not going right, and that's something that I feel needs to change.
Taydale, thank you. Oh, I'm about to say like I'm the host. Thank you for your answer.
Hey, I liked it. It was great that I ain't unmuted. Go ahead, George. Go ahead and answer the question, brother.
But this is a tricky question because one of the things I always wonder is, I think about redlining. And so I would be interested in this conversation. I would, if I am as honored to serve as city councilman, I would be interested in this conversation. And I would want to be a part to see how this could go, depending on how the lines are drawn. And then is there a committee that would make that decision prior to city council? So I would be interested in, and like you, I agree with Mr. Richmond. One of the biggest things is we have to make sure as city council, I'm elected to represent the city's voice. And so making sure, even as a city councilman, that I am accessible to the city residents, and to make sure that as elected, that I'm holding our city manager accountable as well. Because if not, I answer to the citizens of this city, because they trusted me enough to serve on the council. So I would be interested in having a further conversation to talk about what this will look like, and how the drawing of that line will look, and how this would benefit all in the city of Saginaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cullison.
Thank you. George, I think that your answer is spot on. I mean, first of all, it sounds like a great idea. And Brandon, thank you for your question. I guess I figured that you'd probably be watching this tonight. Now, the thing is what are these districts going to look like? I mean, right now, if you think about it, we've got a situation where you could have a majority of council people all get elected from the same neighborhood, because we don't have any districts or wards or whatever you want to call it. Now, I would be concerned about how those districts were drawn and the standards by which they were drawn. But they do it with the county commission. So I don't think it's a far stretch to say, let's split up this area geographically, or however you want to do it, in order to guarantee broader representation, because that's really what we're talking about, to make sure that each region or each area of the city gets a voice, because that's not the system that we have right now. And I could see the benefits, and so I'd be very open to discussing how that was going to happen or what it looks like. But I think you need to be very careful to make sure that it gets done properly. to ensure fairness, and to make sure that the spirit of what you're trying to do is actually manifested in what the eventual plan would be. If you're trying to crack and stack districts in order to swing votes on the council, that's not okay. But if your goal is to ensure more representation and a more fair representation throughout all the regions of the city, I think that that's a good idea. But really, the crux is going to be in the implementation and to make sure that there's fairness.
Councilwoman Forbes.
So I think this is a tricky one, just as we've heard from other folks. I think that just to sort of summarize, so in Bay City, they have a mayor who is elected, and then they have city commissioners. And so folks in Bay City are represented by two people, right? They're designated, the person that represents their ward, and the mayor. Now here in Saginaw, the way that we work it is we elect 9 people, and amongst ourselves, we choose a symbolic mayor and mayor pro tem. These people have no more power than the rest of us. So they're the ones that sort of, they do the speeches and they do the official stuff. But the truth is that at the table, we are all of equal power. So in that example, Bay City has 2 people that represent you. And here in Saginaw, we have 9 people that represent every single citizen. So, in terms of would a ward system provide more representation for citizens? I disagree. I think that our system that we have right now means that that we are choosing, I hope that we are choosing city council members based on their credentials and their experience and their connections to the neighborhood, and that we are not limited by a district system in order to choose those folks. And so if you have a problem, if you want to get a hold of any of us, we are all equally representing you. It is our job equally to listen to your concerns. I know that accessibility is incredibly important, and I do my very best to be out in the community at events, participating in stuff. I'm always available on Facebook and on my email, which is on the website. And so I think it is really important that everyone be accessible and be listening to people, be following up with things. We don't always know the answers, but we can always ask and get back to folks. And that's always what I have tried to do. And then just as an example, I ran for county commissioner once a long time ago, and my district was actually significantly smaller than it is now. So it's a big district, but I also think that that it is important for us to know. Even if we were in a ward system, it would be important for me to know things about every part.
30 seconds remain.
And so I think that without a district system, it is our job, every single one of us, to know about the entire city, not just our own district. And that's what I aim to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of your answers. And we have one last question, guys, to end the night. And this last question will come from Black News Tonight. And this question is, tell everyone in the city why they should vote for you. And we're going to start that off with Mr. Copeland, Councilwoman Forbes, Taybell Richmond, and then Nate Cullison.
Thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you for those who have watched. One of the things that I'm telling you why I would be honored for your vote. I'm not taking this lightly. My grandfather, pastor in this city, Pastor Lewis Bishop, he's 99 years old. He instilled in me the importance of servitude, serving my community. He served our ministry for over 60 years, and yet he's not stopped. That was instilled in me, that I feel that this is the prime time and it's an opportunity for me to serve my community. I've had the opportunity just to walk around and make connections and have conversations just with our city residents. And I've fallen deeper in love with the city. I haven't said faith forward for no reason. I have faith, although I'm a man of faith, I have faith in the city of Saginaw. I have faith in the citizens of Saginaw. I believe if I am elected, that faith I want to use this faith to bring us together and to continue to be that listening ear, but not just a listening ear, but one who would act on the needs of the community. As we said earlier, this job isn't just to represent one particular area. I'm here to represent the city of Saginaw, the city that presented me opportunities to grow as a leader, to grow as a husband, to grow as a father, to grow as a business owner now, to grow as a professional. It is the city of Saginaw that has supported me and provided me with these opportunities. And I want to make sure, as my son, who's turning 1 year old on Monday, I want it to be said that as he grows in 10 years, as we think about this census, in 10 years, my son can say, you know what, my dad had the opportunity to serve this city. And so now I have a great city school that I attend. Now there's opportunities in community centers that I can spend my time in. Now there's opportunities for me to get training outside. I don't have to go to the township. I can be right here up the street in my community and to grow as a citizen, to grow as a young Black man with values that understands the importance of serving his community. So if honored, I'll be honored to have your vote on November 3rd. And actually, you can start voting now.
30 seconds.
Remember, George Copeland for City Council, Faith Forward. You can follow me on Facebook, George Copeland, or George Copeland for City Council. And if you are interested in hosting a yard sign, just let me know. And I will be honored to make that connection with you and have a conversation with you. Thank you for your time. You all have a great evening.
Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be on this event tonight. This has just been a wonderful conversation, and I very much appreciate some time and space to be intentional about developing relationships with all of you on this today, and being able to hear from some of the questions on the folks that are watching. I think that the thing that has been the greatest joy of my involvement here in Saginaw so far is that we have a really special environment here. We have experienced as a community so many high highs and low lows, and it has really made people take down their silos and their boundaries and work together so sincerely and passionately. And as a person involved in nonprofit in community organizing, I have been the beneficiary of that wonderful culture of openness. And I've been given opportunities to lead and to learn and to grow that I didn't deserve, and that people saw something in me and gave me space to do work that I care so much about. And it is my passion to make space for that, for other people to have those opportunities as well, to make space for each and every one of my neighbors to advocate for the issues that impact them, to be able to make change happen. I truly believe that in a town that's as small as ours, that one person can make change happen, and that each and every one of our citizens here deserve to be able to pursue opportunities. And that's really been the focus of my work here in Saginaw. I would absolutely be so thankful if I were given the opportunity to get your vote on November 3rd. I'm so pleased that there are so many wonderful candidates in the race, but in the 2 years I've been on council, I have learned so much, and I know that there's so much more work to do, and I would be absolutely blessed to be given space to have that opportunity to pursue more change and progress in Saginaw, and continue to be on the team of folks that are working towards making things better. If you don't know that there is change happening, you're not paying attention, I encourage you to get plugged in, because there is just so much good going on in the city, and I am so in love, just like George is, with the folks that I meet every day. And I just encourage you also, if you're interested in yard sign or you're interested
30
in
seconds
talking
from
more
me.
about issues, I am so very accessible, and I'd love to talk to you. And I hope to have plenty of space to have those conversations with you all in the future. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you.
Okay. First and foremost, definitely want to thank you for the opportunity tonight, allowing this platform to be able to showcase what we plan to do and bring the city forward. I will be definitely honored for votes and people voting for me for city council. And I don't necessarily have a politically correct answer for this. Simply, I'm me. I'm not a yes man. I'm transparent, and I'm not the status quo. And I think the city deserves something different. They deserve new leadership and somebody who's actually going to go in the office of the city manager, and when things are not going wrong, and saying, "Hey, this is what's going on, and this is what needs to change." And instead of just kind of let things fly on the wayside. I mentioned before, I'm not a puppet either. It's just some things that you just can't make me do. And I truly believe that I'm a voice for the people and the voice of the city. I've been born, like I said, been born and raised here. I love the people. I've loved the city. My family's here, and I'm very accessible. I don't think accessibility is just sticking to being out at events. If somebody has a problem, needs to call me at midnight, call me up. You know, being accessible is definitely something very important for the city, and the people just want to know that you care. They want to know that you care. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I know there's a lot of things that's going on in the city, but the people don't know about it. So for me to be able to educate the people what's going on in the city, I think that will be a great deal and great help for the citizens to be able to plug into different things, because usually they don't know about stuff until after it's already done. And it's like, oh, I didn't know about that. Why did they not know about that? It's because as council people, we need to take initiative to be able to um, send knowledge and be able to educate people on what's going on in the city, whether it's for small business or it's for taxes or it's for education, whatever the case may be. Educate these people and make it noticeable so people know what's going on, because not everybody has the time in the day to sit down and check what's going on in the city. And I would be definitely appreciative to have your vote on November.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
And thanks again for the opportunity. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is an important election. It could be one of the most important elections that we've ever had. And just like it is nationally, it is here locally too. Now, each one of the candidates in this race should earn your vote. This is your council. It's your choice. One of the things that I think is important to know is that you should vote for the best candidate. Now, if you think it's me, then you should vote for me. But whoever you vote for should earn it. Now, look at what we've got going on here in the city. Are you happy with it? If you are, then vote for the status quo. But if you're not, vote to change it. But I can tell you, just like I fight for my clients every day in court, I will fight for all of you on city council. I have 3 kids. My 2 oldest are 2 daughters, and the baby is my boy. Now, my oldest daughter goes to Hanley, and she'll go all through city schools. And so will her sister, and so will her brother. My family's success, my children's education, the success of my business are all anchored right here in Saginaw. I'd like you to go check out my website, learn a little bit more about the things that I want to bring to the table. Look at us on Facebook, send me an email. Let's get together. Let's talk. I'm always available and accessible because my job every day, I go to work and I fight for the people of this city already, but I do it in a courtroom, and I want to go do it for you in City Hall. I want to talk to you about internet equality, because information and knowledge is power, and availability doesn't equal access. I want to talk to you about food security, because you know what? Dollar stores are not grocery stores. I want to talk to you about economic equality so that everybody has an opportunity to live the American dream. And most importantly, I want to talk to you about early childhood development. This isn't a school board election, but the city can play a role to make sure that our young people have places to go, that there's affordable
30
childcare,
seconds.
and that our young children are prepared to go to school when they get to kindergarten. Because once that achievement gap starts, it almost is never, ever closed. So please vote Collison for council.
All right. Wow. Guys, I am thrilled with all of your platforms, all of your innovations. Guys, I can tell you one thing. This is going to be a fantastic race. Okay, race to November 3rd, race to the council. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of you. Councilwoman Forbes, thank you for sitting on this Black News Tonight platform. George Copeland, thank you for sitting on the Black News Tonight platform. Mr. Nate Cullison, thank you again for sitting on the Black News Tonight platform. Tavell Richmond, thank you again for sitting on the Black News Tonight platform. Guys, I appreciate you believing in this organization. And I want to let you all know, as well as everyone else out there, our next episode, this is the election cycle. So this is all going to be about this current election. So our next episode, we get the opportunity to have a 2-hour sit down with former Mayor Joyce Seals. I am so excited about this special. Listen, and when I say that the former mayor is on fire yet and still, and she is right now currently sitting on the Saginaw City Council, the Saginaw School District Board, Board of Education. I'm sorry, but listen, guys, I thank you all again so much for tuning in. And if you haven't had the opportunity, please follow us on Facebook. Hit that bell so you know when we're live. It is the most American thing ever to vote. I believe in voting, and Black News Tonight definitely believes in voting. So please be aware of who to vote for. You've seen passion both nights of these debates, and you've seen energy. So make sure you give these people the same energy, and you go out and you vote where your heart tells you to vote. Please vote. This is an important election for our city and also for our nation. And I want to make sure we say this when we talk about funding, and we spoke about funding on now. Please fill out your census. If that has still been sitting in your mailbox, if that is still sitting in your junk drawer, pick it up and fill it out. It really represents funding that is going to forward our city, this beautiful city that we all love. Please fill out your census. Make sure you tune in next week on Friday at 9 p.m. for our second episode in this season of Black News Tonight with the former Mayor Joyce Seals. Folks, I thank you all for tuning in. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Hit the bell so you know when we're live. And most of all, Black News Tonight is signing out because we're giving real people a louder voice in their community. Good night.